Hey everyone, how's your day going? Whether it's been good or rough, you're not alone. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the world of mystery together. For nearly 2 weeks, I had been completely alone in my apartment. My roommate, Eric, had gone to visit his family in Oregon, leaving me with the place all to myself. I welcomed the solitude at first. No noise, no interruptions, just peace and quiet. I had taken a few days off work with no real plans. Just me, my couch, and an endless list of shows to binge. And for the first few days, it was exactly what I wanted. But by the end of the first week, something about the silence started to get to me. Not right away. It was subtle. At first, it was the way my footsteps echoed too sharply against the hardwood floor. Then it was the way the hum of the refrigerator seemed louder than usual. I started leaving the window slightly open, not because I needed fresh air, but because the distant murmur of city life made me feel less alone. I told myself I was imagining things. That's what made the knock even worse. It started with the doorbell. Ding dong. I flinched. The sound cut through the quiet like a knife. I grabbed the remote and paused the TV, the screen frozen on a grainy police interview. 12:37 a.m. No one ever visited me this late. For a few seconds, I just sat there, waiting. Then, 3 sharp knocks. Not hesitant, not light, loud, purposeful. A chill crept up my spine. I pushed myself off the couch, moving toward the door with careful, hesitant steps. The peephole. I pressed my eye against it, my breath shallow. Nothing. The porch light outside cast a clear glow over the entryway, but there was no one there. No shadow, no movement, nothing. My stomach twisted, and then something moved. A flicker of motion just at the edge of my vision. I saw it. The briefest glimpse of a pant leg, a shoe, someone darting out of sight. Someone was hiding. I locked the deadbolt. Then, just to be sure, I latched the chain lock. And I waited. 1 minute. 2. Silence. I swallowed hard, trying to shake off the growing unease. Maybe it was a mistake. A drunk neighbor at the wrong door. A prank. Maybe. But I wasn't convinced. I turned, walked back to the couch, and grabbed the remote. Unpaused the TV. Tried to focus, but I couldn't, because deep down I knew that wasn't just a random knock. Someone had been watching, and worse, I had the horrible, sinking feeling that they were still there. I took a deep breath. It was probably nothing. Some drunk guy at the wrong door, a late-night mix-up, a stupid prank, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It was the way they moved. The way they stayed just out of sight. That wasn't an accident. I turned back to the TV trying to focus, but I couldn't. Every nerve in my body was still on edge. My mind kept replaying that brief flicker of movement, the edge of a pant leg, a foot shifting out of view. Someone had been there. Someone had been watching. I reached for the remote and turned the volume up as if the noise would drown out the unease clawing at my stomach. But the silence outside felt heavy, like it was waiting. I glanced at the time. 2:47 a.m. I needed sleep, but before I went to bed, I did something I had never done before. I checked every lock. The front door, deadbolt, chain lock, secure. The windows, closed tight. Bathroom, empty. Closets, just my clothes. It was stupid, overkill, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still wrong. Finally, I turned off the TV, grabbed my phone, and went to my room. I kept the lamp on as I lay down, not because I was scared, just because. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through social media, hoping it would distract me. The floor creaked. I froze. It was an old apartment. The wood floors creaked all the time. I kept scrolling. Then somewhere down the hall, I swore I heard something shift. I ignored it, kept scrolling. After a while, my eyelids grew heavy. My phone slipped from my fingers, landing beside me on the bed. And finally, I drifted off. I don't know how long I was asleep before it happened, but when I woke up, I knew exactly what had pulled me from sleep. A sound. Soft. Close. Like fabric dragging against the floor. I didn't move. Didn't even blink. Just listened. The room was dark, but the glow from the street lamp outside threw faint streaks of light through the blinds. For a moment, I thought maybe I had imagined it. Then it came again. SHH Chef T. Like someone, slowly shifting beneath me. Under the bed. A cold rush of fear washed over me. I felt my body tense, locking up. I wanted to believe it was nothing. But deep down I knew. There was someone under my bed. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't even swallow. I lay completely still, every instinct screaming at me to run. But I couldn't. Because if I moved, if I made a sound, they'd know I was awake. My mind raced. What do I do? Jump up and sprint for the door? No. Too risky. Reach for my phone? Call 911? No. My phone was right next to me. Reaching for it meant moving. And moving wasn't an option. Seconds stretched into minutes. The sound stopped. Silence. Maybe they were waiting. Maybe they were listening to my breathing. The air in the room felt thick. And then, the bed shifted. A slow, almost imperceptible movement. Whoever was under there was coming out. I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to know. But I couldn't help myself. From the corner of my eye I saw it. A shape. Tall. Thin. Rising slowly. As if they were trying not to wake me. They stood beside my bed. Not moving. Not breathing. Just standing there. Their face was turned away, but I could feel it. They were watching me. My body screamed at me to move, to run. But if I ran? What if they chased me? I don't know how long I stayed frozen. Maybe seconds. Maybe a lifetime. But at some point, the figure moved. Not toward me. Toward the hallway. Slowly, deliberately, they slipped out of my room. Without a sound. The moment they were gone, I moved. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking as I dialed 911. I whispered, "There's someone in my apartment." The operator stayed on the line. I barricaded myself behind the bed, pressing my back against the wall. And I waited. Minutes crawled by. Then, sirens. Flashing red and blue lights spilled through my window. A knock, this time from the police. I unlatched the door with shaking hands, stepping back as officers swept inside. They searched every room, every closet, even the crawl space in the attic. Nothing. No forced entry. No broken windows. No sign of how they got in. The officers told me I must have forgotten to lock the door. That maybe the intruder had slipped in while I wasn't paying attention. But I knew better. Because I had locked the door. I had checked every lock. And that meant whoever had been under my bed had already been inside. Detective Holloway stood in the doorway, arms crossed, his face unreadable. "We checked everything," he said. "There's no sign of forced entry. No evidence of anyone still inside." I wanted to believe him, wanted to convince myself I had imagined it all. The knocks, the shadow, the man rising from under my bed. But I couldn't, because I knew what I saw, and I knew the fear sitting like a weight in my chest wasn't just paranoia. "Maybe someone did break in earlier," Holloway continued. "They could have left when they realized you were awake. But if nothing was stolen and there's no damage, they were probably just looking for an easy target." Easy target. The words made my skin crawl. I forced a nod. "So what should I do?" "For tonight," he said. "Find somewhere else to stay. Friend, hotel. Anywhere but here." I didn't argue. I grabbed my backpack, stuffed in whatever I could, and left. I checked into a cheap hotel downtown, paid in cash, and locked the door behind me the second I stepped inside. It wasn't home, but at least it felt safe. For the first time in what felt like forever, I slept. No creaking floors, no knocks at the door, no whispers in the dark, just silence. I woke up to the sunlight pouring through the curtains. For a moment, I almost felt normal. Then my phone vibrated. Security alert, motion detected in living room, 9:18 a.m. My stomach dropped. My hands trembled as I pulled up the footage. The screen loaded. First, the apartment was empty, silent. Then, the bedroom door creaked open. A figure stepped out, tall, pale, moving slowly. I felt my blood run cold. He had never left. The man moved like he had all the time in the world. He walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, pulled something out, like he belonged there, like this wasn't just a break-in, like he had been living there. And then, after taking a sip from my water bottle, he turned back toward my bedroom and disappeared inside. I barely processed what I was seeing before I was dialing 911. "There's someone in my apartment," I whispered. "I have footage." He never left. The dispatcher kept me on the line. "Stay put. Officers are en route." I sat there, staring at the screen, dreading the moment the man turned toward the camera, like he knew I was watching. This time, the police took me seriously. 2 officers entered my apartment, guns drawn. I waited in the hallway, barely breathing. Minutes passed. Then one of them called me inside. The moment I stepped in, I knew something was wrong. "Check this out," one of the officers said, pointing toward my bedroom closet. The door was wide open. Inside, the panel to the crawl space was moved. I stared in horror. Inside that tiny space were blankets, empty food wrappers, and my missing spare key. I turned to the officer, my voice barely above a whisper. "How long do you think he was in here?" The officer exhaled. "Hard to say," he admitted. "But from the looks of it," he gestured to the nest of blankets, the discarded wrappers. "Longer than just last night." The police took another report. They checked the crawl space, the vents, every inch of the apartment. The man was gone, but he had been there, not for hours, not just for a night, for days, maybe even weeks. I packed my bags and moved out that weekend. Found a new place, paid extra for security, never slept without double-checking every lock. For a while, I thought maybe I had escaped it, that I could finally breathe again. But then, a few weeks later, I got a new notification. Security alert, motion detected in living room, 3:42 a.m. My heart stopped. I wasn't home. The apartment was supposed to be empty. I pulled up the footage, barely able to breathe. And there he was, the same man, standing in the middle of my old apartment, looking around, looking for me. But this time, before the footage cut off, he turned toward the camera and smiled. I had done everything possible to disappear. I moved to a secure high-rise, changed my phone number, paid extra for state-of-the-art locks, even switched jobs to avoid any connection to my old place. I told myself that this time I was safe, that I had left that horror behind. But staring at the footage on my screen, watching him in my old living room, the walls of my new apartment suddenly felt too close, too thin. How did he get back inside? And why was he still looking for me? I shut the phone off and stood abruptly, pacing. 100 thoughts swarmed in my head. Had he tracked me? Did he know my new address? The realization made my stomach clench. Was he watching me right now? My phone buzzed in my hand. Unknown number. I hesitated. The rational part of my brain told me to ignore it, to let it go to voicemail. But something told me I needed to know. I swiped to answer, bringing the phone to my ear. Silence. No background noise. Not even breathing. I swallowed hard. Who is this? Nothing. Then, a voice. Low, hollow, uncomfortably close. Why did you leave? My blood ran cold. The voice wasn't distorted. It wasn't automated. It was him, the man from under my bed. I hung up instantly, dropping the phone onto the table like it had burned me. How did he get my number? And more terrifyingly, how did he know I had moved? Sleep wasn't an option. I sat in my living room, every light in the apartment on, flinching at every creak of the building. At 3:12 a.m., my phone vibrated again. Security alert, motion detected in living room, old apartment, 3:12 a.m. I hesitated before clicking the notification. The screen loaded. For the first few seconds, there was nothing. Then, from the edge of the frame, he stepped into view. He walked toward the kitchen, moving with a slow, calculated pace. Then he did something that turned my stomach. He walked straight to the counter and placed a key on top of it. My spare key. The one the police had found in the crawl space. Then, as if sensing I was watching, he slowly turned toward the camera and waved. Panic surged through me. He found my number. Now he was taunting me. There had to be a way he was tracking me. I grabbed my laptop and started scanning through my accounts. Credit cards, emails, anything that could have been breached. And then, buried under my rental notifications, I found it. An email from my apartment rental company. It looked standard, just a confirmation that my address change had been processed. But something felt off. I opened it, scrolling to the bottom, and there it was, a forwarding request, an alternate email attached to my account. It wasn't mine. Someone had hacked into my rental profile. Someone had been monitoring my move. My blood ran cold. I already knew who. A sharp knock jolted me from my thoughts. I whipped my head toward the door, heart hammering. Soft, deliberate. I forced my body to move, creeping forward. I pressed my eye to the peephole. The hallway was empty. No one was there, but taped to my door was a note. My hands shook as I peeled it off, unfolding the paper. For words. I know where you are. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. I ran. Out the door, down the hall, into the stairwell. My heart pounded as I reached my car, fumbling with my keys. I didn't have a plan, didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get out. I started the engine, tires screeching against the pavement as I peeled away from my building. The city lights blurred past me, but even as I put more distance between myself and that place, one terrifying thought consumed me. This wasn't over. He wasn't just following me. He was in control, and I was running out of places to hide. I had been driving for hours. No real destination. Just a desperate attempt to outrun him. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. He had found me once. He would find me again. And now, staring at the picture he just sent, proof that he was watching me right now, I knew I was out of time. I scanned the parking lot, my pulse hammering. A few scattered cars. A man at the pump, back turned. A woman in a hoodie heading toward the convenience store. No one looking my way. But someone was out there. Someone was close enough to take this picture. And I had no idea where. My fingers trembled as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I tried to keep my voice steady, but I could hear the panic creeping in. There's someone following me. He's been stalking me for weeks. He just sent me a picture of me, sitting in my car. Right now. The dispatcher's tone sharpened. Where are you? I rattled off the gas station address, heart racing. Do you see anyone nearby? She asked. I scanned the lot again. Nothing. Then movement. A dark shape slipping behind the building. There's someone, I whispered. Behind the store. Stay inside your vehicle. Officers are on the way. I locked my doors, my breath coming in shallow gasps. And then, a shadow passed behind my rear window. I didn't dare turn around. A blur of red and blue flashed in my mirror. The police arrived in minutes. 2 officers stepped out, scanning the area with trained eyes. I nearly stumbled out of my car to meet them. He was here, I gasped. He was just here. One officer nodded. Stay put. They swept the lot, checked behind the store. But after 15 minutes, nothing. No one. No footprints. No sign that anyone had ever been there. One of the officers approached me, his expression grim. We checked the area. No sign of him. I clenched my jaw. You think I'm making this up? The officer shook his head. No, I believe you. But guys like this? They don't leave traces. They're careful. I exhaled shakily. So what am I supposed to do? His face darkened. Watch your back. Change your number. And if he contacts you again, call us immediately. I nodded, but in my gut, I knew the truth. This wasn't over. That night, I checked into a hotel under a fake name. Locked the door. Barred it with a chair. Told myself I was safe. But at 3:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text. No words. Just a photo. Not of me. Of my old apartment. A picture taken from the hallway. Right outside my old front door. And underneath, a final message. I'll be waiting. This isn't just a story. Stalkers are real. They watch. They wait. And when you think you're safe, they prove you wrong. If you ever feel like you're being followed, take it seriously. Heavy checkmark, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Heavy checkmark, lock your doors. Always. Stalkers don't need to break windows. They find ways in before you ever notice. Heavy checkmark, change your routines. Never be predictable. Don't take the same route every day. Heavy checkmark, tell someone. A friend, a family member, the police, never try to handle it alone. Heavy checkmark, document everything. Every call, every message, every sighting. The more proof you have, the better chance authorities can act. Stalking is not just a creepy encounter. It's a crime. And sometimes, the worst ones never stop watching.